everyone. Welcome back to Dad Space, the podcast for dads by dads. We have a great dad here who's got a great story. He's going to share what's been going on in his life. He has so many books. He's an author, speaker, radio host, podcaster. I don't even know. He does. I feel like I don't do enough when I meet with this gentleman. Brian P. Swift is on the podcast. And Brian, so glad to have you here on Dad Space. Welcome. Nice to have you here.
David, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored. Trust me, you do. I look at you and think of 7-8 podcasts and, try to figure out when you sleep because I know you put your heart and soul into them. And they're not as easy as it seems, but not as difficult as maybe some people tend to think. And obviously you found the recipe and keep doing what you're doing.
I love it. It's great to have you here. It's an honor. We are old Clubhouse companions and comrades. We met there on Clubhouse, and that's an amazing place to meet great people. Dominic Damaski is one of our friends in common as well, and also Julie and so many great people over there at Clubhouse using that app. Tell us a little bit, Brian, where you are in this big world of ours and a little bit about your dad story. Let's start off with that.
Awesome. Well, I'm in that 50-something age of my life, so I've got a lot behind me, hopefully a lot in front of me because I absolutely love, I love life and I love most of the people in my life. So I'm really blessed to be able to do things like this with you and blessed for all the things I've had. So, I was raised in a, very blue collar, middle class environment, first generation college. And mom was a homemaker for most of her life and dad went out and worked. Very traditional Irish Catholic family. The rules were set, as a kid and the consequences were set, and it's a great way to be raised, and it's a great way to raise your kids because there's no gray. And I was raised like that. Like there's no gray areas. It was black or white. It's right or wrong. And I believe it is the same way today. I just think people, adults, and definitely young people, they like to create a gray area where where life gets muddied up. I believe in your soul when it's right or wrong. As I've told my kids, if you have to ask yourself or somebody else if it's right or wrong, is this the right thing to do? You answered the question. Yeah. If you're asking the question, the answer is it's wrong.
Yeah.
That's to me very simple. And I brought up my kids very similar. Like this is what's acceptable. This is what's not acceptable. This is the consequence. What more can you ask? So, and when I went into business, I worked in sales, I worked in management, I worked as a sales leader, I worked in training. I kind of ran it the same way. Like, here are expectations, and this is what happens if you don't meet the expectations. And I am here to get you way past the expectations because I believe in life that people don't do things for two reasons. It's only two reasons things don't happen. One, they don't know how. So if somebody doesn't know how to do something, you can't really hold them accountable.
Right.
Two, they choose not to. Because once they know how to do something, once they know the behavior as a kid that you expect, okay, here's a car, you've earned the right to borrow the car. Don't speed. You know what speeding is. You know what that means. Okay. You go out and you get caught going 20 over. You knew what that was and you knew the consequence. If you get it, or if you get caught speeding, you're going to lose a privilege.
Right.
Not the right. You don't have a right to drive. You have a privilege that you earn.
Yeah.
And I just think it's very simple. It's simple. It's that way in almost any parts of our life. It is truly that simple. It's black or white. So that's the way I've kind of moved through my life. I try to create less gray area and move forward back.
Yeah, and I see that in my own family too. You have your times where your kids, as they get older, they try to push and see how far they can push before there's a reaction, and they know the rules. I can remember once where we had some cash sitting by my keys and by my wallet, and my wife were off and are doing something, and we came back and the cash was gone. And it's like, well, where did the cash go? There's only so many people here in the house. We didn't know if somebody came into the house. Everybody denied taking the cash. And as we kind of unpacked the story over time, we found out what happened to the cash. And it was someone in our home, one of our kids. So even though they adamantly denied everything at the first, we were able to trace it back. So there's results. There's things that come when something like that happens. And then I think the hardest thing as a dad is when you're lied to. That was like the hardest thing, is when they look at you right in the eyes and they claim and they're adamant that nothing happened, they did nothing wrong. And yet you uncover it in the future and the disappointment there. And I remember as a kid disappointing my parents in different ways, and the look of sorrow on my dad's face when he realized that I wasn't completely honest and truthful with him. That hurt me more, I think, than any punishment you could have ever given.
Oh my gosh. The silence.
Right?
Look. I mean, my dad could paralyze you with a look. I mean, it was that.
Yeah.
He looked from the front seat to the back seat or across the dinner table.
Yeah.
Well,
Done.
Parents can't do that anymore because they're trying to be their kids' friends, and they don't want to they don't like when their kids are mad at them or don't like them. My dad made it clear, I don't care if you ever loved me, but you're going to respect what goes on.
Yeah. And
that respect will turn into love. And my dad's my best friend. And you talk about a tough father, firm but fair, but tough. And like I said, I mean, could paralyze you with a look.
Yeah.
That look. So yeah, no, I get that. And like I tell my kids, you're good. You know what? The difference between a good kid and a bad kid is a good kid doesn't get caught. That's the difference. Sorry, I did it.
Yeah.
We cannot forget as parents the crap we did.
Yeah.
So we want our kids to experience life. You hope he doesn't do maybe all the stuff you did, which they won't know about until they're old enough to understand. But they're going to do stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, I tell my kids, you're going to do stuff. You're going to get away with stuff. We all did, but don't lie to me, because I'd rather, let's deal with the conflict, let's deal with it. Because if you lie to me, it's going to be worse.
Yeah.
Because now I can't trust you. I understand you're human and you're going to make mistakes. We all do. We all make mistakes. I get it. But that lying to me is more of an intentional act. They don't speed thinking I'm going to piss off my dad, or they don't do stupid stuff. Yeah. But the lying is intentional. And I agree with you. Then you lose trust. And when you lose it, it takes a darn long time to build it up. You got to earn that.
Yeah, it's future trust too. It's down the road. Like, well, you lied at this instance. How do I trust you now? Weeks, days, years later, I'm still thinking about the time when you did the thing, right? Even though we want to forgive and move forward, there's still that piece that goes, wait a minute, Junior's saying something and that doesn't add up. So there's one story I heard, Brian, when I was a young dad, where I don't know if it was just made up as an illustration or a real story, but the fact of the story really hit me. Was there was a little kid playing underneath a tree, and above him, in the tree above, was a snake. And the snake was slowly lowering himself down towards the child. And the child was completely unaware of the snake above their head. And the father from across the yard said, "Get down," like yelled out, "Get down," really fast, like just really abruptly. And the kid hit the dirt. Boom. No, but I don't want to go down. No whining, no response, no back and forth, just immediate action. And it was for the sake of the child that the father did that, because the father could intervene and save the child. So I don't see that in today's world where children automatically respect and do exactly as their parents say, maybe in part because we haven't earned the right, because we've done some really bad things parenting, possibly. But I don't see that respect and honor coming back to parents anymore when something like that could happen. To know that that child responded in a millisecond to that father's demand without questioning, I think we're missing
100%.
some
And
of
when
that.
kids are young, they need to do things because you're an authority figure. I'm all for explaining things to my kids as they get old enough. But I'm sorry, when you're younger, you do it because I said so. So that's just the
Yeah.
way it was. It was that simple.
What I find too, Brian, is that the older your kids get, the more they realize how smart you were. As when they were little, they're like, wait a minute, dad and mom really did know their stuff, even though I thought they were dumb. As I get older as a kid, and then maybe I have my own kids, boy, my parents were smart back in the day, even though I didn't
Yeah,
recognize
it's even
it,
more
right?
funny, and I'm sure you've seen it, when they start saying the stuff to their siblings that you've told them to do, and you're looking over going,
Right.
my son will come home and he'll rag at my younger son for, look at the bathroom, you got your clothes, and I'm looking going, like, now all of a sudden, and it's even more funny when they get a house or they get their own car. My daughter
Oh, yeah.
got a car, and, she paid for it and we co-signed. But all of a sudden, oh no, you're not coming. You're not coming in my car, eating food. You might spill. Look at the back seat of my van. It looks like somebody had a toga party back there. Guys are slobs. But now all of a sudden, once they own it, oh my gosh, no, you can't have ice cream in my car. Oh, it's amazing transformation.
Yeah. Right. They get so much smarter, and we become so much smarter somehow in the process. Okay, so you mentioned your kids, Brian. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 kids, one of each, so I'm pretty blessed.
Good.
Now,
Excellent. And they're all out of the house by now?
we had all 3. So
Okay.
you didn't even flinch when I said one of each.
Yeah.
3 kids.
Well, yeah. Okay. Go back to that.
I say that in homage to my father, because he used to say that all the time and just wait for people's reactions.
Yeah.
Now, I've got 2 boys and a girl,
Yeah. Okay.
but I love saying that because I remember him saying that and just waiting for people's reactions. Like, wait a minute. So, yeah, very blessed. They were all out of the house, 2 living in their own places, and 1 in college. Last year, we had them all home because they sold their houses because it was a great market opportunity. Came back home and lived for a while. So now I've got 2 home. Well, the one's coming home from college. The other one is not renting it. And my oldest son has bought a house and he's back living outside. So
Good. So, okay, Brian, the listeners for this podcast are dads. That's why we're creating the show. Any advice for a brand new dad? Can you go back in time, Brian, to the early days? Because I think getting some wisdom and knowledge from us older dads, you and I, might help a new dad in their journey. Again, with all of the messaging that's out there in media and all the things that we see that kind of direct us as new parents, I like to kind of balance that with what we know and what we've lived, because we've done this for a while. What kind of words of wisdom would you give that dad sitting in a hospital room, knowing they're going to be a dad this week and they're completely petrified? They don't know what's going to happen. Any words of wisdom that you would give to that new dad?
no, the kids don't come with manuals, unfortunately.
Right.
I've been blessed to be raised by an awesome mother and father, and I followed what they did. My wife leaned on her mom and dad. I leaned on my mom and dad, and just remember the way you were brought up, and trust yourself. It'll work. It all comes together. So I would start with that. There are good books. Read books. There are some out there, but I looked at my parents and I said, I'm going to do a lot of things the same way. And then I looked at it and said, there's some things I might do a little different. I might be a little softer. I might do this or that.
Yeah. Yeah. As you kind of go through and learn from your parents, and I want that for my kids. I want them to do better than I did, because again, I didn't know what I didn't know. I only knew what I saw modeled for me from my father. My dad was a great dad. But he wasn't perfect by any means. And I'm not perfect. that expectation of perfection is really hard to attain. And I'm seeing that now, like my youngest is a new father, so I'm a grandfather. Ooh. And how he treats his daughter and how he treats his daughter in public. He doesn't want anybody around the baby. Everyone wash your hands.
Oh
I'm
boy.
like,
One of
wow,
those.
you're the guy who wouldn't have a shower for a week, and now you're telling me to wash my hands. So it's pretty interesting, like you said, with the car. I'm seeing that now as a new dad. So I love his cautious spirit because he wants to make sure she's good and healthy and safe. I get that. But he's kind of going a little too far where she's in a bubble. I'm like, you got to break her out of the bubble.
100%.
She's got to learn. You can't follow her to school and clean every surface. It's not going to happen. So you're going to have to let go a little bit. But he's so careful, right? So I'm trying to be I'm trying to be gentle with him as a new dad, but also just encouraging him to love on her. Again, we're coming up to the holiday season. It's not about gifts. It's about your time.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
If the more time that your daughter has with you is more important than some box of plastic
100%.
toys,
Throwing
right?
the ball with them, going for walks, going fishing. It's not about catching the fish. It's about the hour drive to the pond. And it's about watching them run around and pick leaves and look for fish. It's about time, 100%. And again, you mentioned, you hit on something. Being a dad is not about perfection. Being a dad is about progress and love. And if you do those two things, it'll all work out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what it's all about. And I just, with how commercialized everything is at this time of year, everything's about giving and spending money and putting yourself in debt to give gifts to people. I'm cautiously warning my youngest to set a good example in how he spends money, how he invests in his family. And again, it's coming back to time. I think if I could give Christmas presents of time, A, I would have saved myself a lot of money as a new dad. And B, that's the one piece that you can't get back. My kids are gone now. I have an empty house.
Yeah.
I'm an empty nester. They're not coming back because they're all in their relationships and doing their stuff. They're happy and I'm happy for them. I really am. But I can't go back to that moment when my 3 kids were under the same roof as me at night. I'm tucking them into bed, and that safety and security of a dad, having everyone under one roof.
Oh man.
I miss those days. I miss
So
that.
one thing I said to my wife this year, so my oldest son's 29, my daughter's 23, and my youngest son is 21. It's the last year of college. I said, this is what I want for this year. I want my older son to stay overnight, Christmas Eve. We went out and bought matching pajamas for everybody. And I just want to have a Christmas Eve together, the 5 of us.
Yeah.
And, I know they all have boyfriends and girlfriends, but Christmas Eve is not usually when they're not staying somewhere or whatever. And I want to wake up with the family and open gifts. So I'm hoping to pull that off because as you know, you can attest this, your kids are going to remember the times, not the gifts. They're not going to remember that one toy you gave them when they were 9 or 14. I mean, they might remember a specific toy. They're going to remember that. Yeah. But when you think of the hundreds of stuff they've been given, it's about the times. It's about the times you went fishing and, almost fell in the lake, or the time, you got the hook caught in your ear. Those are the things they remember. I mean, that's what's important. So you're right. Spend time. My unique situation, and I don't look at it as unique, but it might be to your listeners. So all 3 of my kids are adopted, and I don't talk about it because I don't have adopted kids. I have 3 kids.
I love that.
But they're all adopted, and I've got my older son was born on the east side of Chicago in a town called Blue Island. My daughter, we went to China and adopted from China, which is a horrendous place. Especially back 20 years ago, because could only have one kid back 20 years ago to keep their subsidies. Now that's changed, and they can have more than one child. And then my youngest son is from Guatemala. So I've got an awesome, unique family. and we all joke about each other. They caught me being in a wheelchair. For those who don't know, I'm a quadriplegic. That's why they call me the Quadfather. And I'm just truly blessed to have 3 kids that value family and faith.
Brian, that's what I love how you worded that they're your kids. They're not your adopted kids.
When I see people that say, right? This is my stepson, this is my adopted, it's like, don't tie them that way. These are my 3 kids.
I love that.
You know, my one from Guatemala, he's very dark. So the funny thing is his name's Callahan. That's his first name.
Oh,
so when he's played sports, it's funny to watch the expressions. Or when he's had a girlfriend and gone over to their house and the parents are like, oh, he's taking this young man named Callahan. And then they see him, they're totally grown because he looks very Hispanic and got this, conch from whatever, this head of hair, black head of hair that I would kill for, head of hair. And, you're thinking of Callahan Swift, you're thinking of this little Irish leprechaun-y type kid walking.
Yeah.
And you get Cal. So, and he cracks up about it. He's like, I love to see the expression on people's face when they meet me.
So that relationship is two-way though, Brian. You have them in your home, and I love your story, but what does it mean to them to have you as a dad? What are they learning from you?
They've all, obviously grown up with me being in a wheelchair. So what they've learned is they don't complain a lot, because I get up every day with a smile. So they've learned that they can't be too grumpy around me because I will chew on them about that and remind them of how blessed they are. Not how blessed they are to be in this country, not how blessed they are to be adopted. None, I would never talk about that. How blessed they are to have all the things they have. That's what I want to talk about. That's what I will talk about. So, they walk around here grumpy. I'll be like, sit, stop, watch out. Don't step on that. And she'll be like, what? I go, you dropped your smile. What's wrong? Everything's okay. Well, tell your face that. Tell your face you're fine. And I don't care. She's 23 years old. I'll do it to my older son. So they've learned that complaining doesn't help. They've learned that you get up every day and you choose your attitude. Yeah. And they know that dad's coming with a full battery of suck it up buttercup when crap hits the end. They also know dad will be the first one to stand next to them or in front of them and help them on their journey, no matter what it is.
That's a good balance.
They know I love them. Brian. They know I care about them, but they know that doesn't mean I don't love them. And I've told them when they were younger, I will always love you, but there are going to be times I don't like you. There's a difference, right? The hardest thing is sometimes our kids need the love the most when they deserve it the less. And that's an important lesson I learned while coaching athletics, actually, is sometimes they need to love the most when they deserve it the less and the least. And that is tough to do. But I'm telling you, if you can learn to do it, it makes such an impact. Like, when I talk about zigging, when they think you're going to zag, when they think I'm going to come at them hard and I come at them soft, they're like almost spooked. They're like, wait,
what's going on?
Wait a minute. Like, you're being like way too nice about this. And I love being that way. I love zigging and zagging around them because there are times when I learned that. I love that lesson. And I'm telling you, words. Love them the most when they need it the least sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes you need to do that. And I'm telling you, the impact is amazing.
What I love about what I know about you, Brian, is I know you're all about inspiration, motivation, all the books you've written, your radio show, podcasts, everything you do on social media. You're always about serving people and encouraging others. You also live that at home. It's not just something you do on stage. Look at me, the lights are on me. It's time for me to turn this Brian Swift switch on and be all inspirational. You're doing this at home with your children as well. So they're getting to see you're a real person in spotlight and at home when the lights are off and there's no big crowds. You're the same guy. and you're teaching the same lessons to your kids and to those you come across.
There's only one Brian Swift, and I don't change.
Right.
If I'm on stage, if I'm in public, I'm sarcastic. You pick that up. My wife blames me for that. But I am who I am, and you either can like me or not like me, and I'm okay with that, because I believe it's important to be genuine.
And that's what I see in you every time I see anything you post, anything you do, Brian. You're the same Brian every time. And that consistency draws people to you because they know what they're going to get. This is Brian Swift, and he's going to tell you the way it is, and you're going to learn something. So, and you're going to walk away inspired.
You don't have to agree with me. And I've told my kids this. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to like what I have to say. Matter of fact, you might not like what I say. You might not agree. All I ask is that you listen. And what parents need to start doing is not having conversations with their children, but I call it kind of come to Jesus moments, where I've taken my kids at different ages, 9, 12, 20, 25, and said, hey, I'm going to say so. I just need you come here a minute. I'm going to say something. I just need you to listen. This is not a discussion. You might not like it. You might not agree with it. You might not understand it, but just trust me that it will make sense. And then I say what I say, and we're done. It's not a discussion. I don't want to discuss this. I just need you to hear it and listen to it. And I do that occasionally when I feel there's a time, because you know what? A discussion means they're not listening to me, and that they're trying to combat what I'm going to say. And there are times when I don't believe that's the right thing at the moment. I just need you to listen, and then you can go your way, and I'm going to go my way. And neither of us are mad. Well, they might be frustrated, but that's okay. They'll get over it. And parents need to do more of that with their kids. Just listen to me and trust me. It will come. It will fit in and make sense in time.
It's great. It's great. Brian, you've been very gracious with your time. You've also been on multiple of my podcasts, which I love. I'm just going to keep having you back to all of them. As far as your website, brianpswift.com, you have so much great stuff on there about your coaching, your books, your radio show, like everything that you're doing is there, which is great. For those people that don't know you yet as much as I do, what are people going to find on your website, and maybe some of the things coming up for you in the future?
Well, as you said, I'm a certified John Maxwell coach and speaker. So I love coaching, whether you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to get really going, whether you're stuck, you're dealing with self-limiting beliefs, self-doubt, any of those things. I love coaching that. Or you're doing well and you want to get better. You want to take it to the next level. So that's a big part of what I do. I also have a nonprofit. It's a 501c3 nonprofit called SOAR, Swift Outdoor Accessible Recreation. What we do is we help people with disabilities get back outdoors through grants, through equipment. And then I stepped out of corporate after 25 years. There were several things I wanted to do, write one book. Now I'm on 8. I wanted to start a nonprofit, which we did, and it's 8 years old. And we've given away over probably 1,000 pieces of equipment to help people get outdoors and create a lot of great collaboration to help people do what they want to do, people with disabilities. And then I have a radio show, WJOL 1340 AM, every Wednesday, which I'll be heading to in about an hour and a half, and to a show called The Quadfather, All Things Inspirational. So they can reach out. They can find me at brianpswift.com. They can find me on Facebook. They can find me on Instagram. They can find me on LinkedIn. Whether you want to talk about speaking, you're interested in coaching, or just purchase a book. That all my books are inspiring in some way, shape, or form. We help you get out of this rut if you're in. They will help you appreciate life, help you keep things in perspective, help drive you to a better spot. My last book is called Developing True Grit. I think it's a characteristic that's missing. And I think it's one of the most important characteristics to people's success is learning how to be gritty. So that's that's a lot of what I do.
And then on top of all that, because you have a few minutes in your day, you're also now going down the road of stand-up comedy. And I'm sure as a dad, you've got a ton of great dad jokes, which come with the territory of being a dad. So that's another thing we're going to be following with great interest is watching you go down that path and get up on stage. That's great.
Yes, I have been, I've only done it one other time. And you know what? Being a smart ass around your friends is easy. Being on stage is different. So in April, I have a comedy routine that I'm responsible for. I'm opening up for another gentleman who's been in the business way longer than me. First time I opened up for J.J. Walker, for those enough to know who he is. And I do like 5 to 8 minutes. This time I'm doing 15 minutes. So 15 minutes may not sound like a lot, but it's a lot, especially if the crowd is not laughing as much as you think it's funny.
Yeah, that you get instant feedback.
Oh, boy, you sure do. And you know what? You talk about being in the light. You were up there and you just feel like the room is collapsing. Because my first time I told a couple jokes, I thought I'd get a bigger reaction. And then some of the other jokes I thought were good, I got a bigger reaction than I expected. But you know what? When it's all said and done, if it doesn't involve my faith, my family, and my friends, life is good.
Yeah, I love it. Brian, thank you so much. I know you've got a radio show to get to, and I'm excited for that. And again, we'll have you back on other podcasts to talk more. Brian P. Swift, I'm so thankful you have time to do this with me. I appreciate you.
Dave, I appreciate it. I'm honored. What you do is great. You help so many people. Unfortunately, you probably don't get to hear enough about the difference all your podcasts make. So keep making a difference. We appreciate it out there. God bless.
Thanks, Brian. Everyone, all the information in the show notes for Brian P. Swift. If you need a great joke, you need a great speaker, you need an awesome book, you want to listen to the radio, podcast, there's so much Brian P. Swift in the world, and we need just a little bit more. Thanks, Brian. Hey, thanks for listening to Dad Space today. I'm so thankful that you were here for this episode. If you like the show, please let another dad know. Hey, that kind of rhymed. Anyways, share the episode out with somebody in your circle who would love Dad Space. That means so much to us here for our guests who donate their time to be on the show. And we just want to see this grow. So, again, another rhyme. Oh, wow. Anyhow, I think I need to write a song or something. Thank you for being here with Dad Space. And again, looking forward to the next episode. Look forward to having you here again with us. And if we can help you in any way, if you have a great guest idea for the show, a topic that you would love us to cover, we would love to do that here on Dad Space. So thanks for listening, and thanks for being part of the community. And to you, Dad, thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing Dad Space. Catch you on the next one. Take care.